my family away from my Carolina home. Had dreams about the West and started to roam. 6 long months on a dust-covered trail. They say heaven's at the end, but so far it's been hell. And there's fire on the mountain, lightning in the air, gold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there. Shifting from 5 to 5, selling everything we found just to stay alive. Gold flowed free like the whiskey in the bars. Sinning was the big thing, Lord, and Satan was a star. And there's fire on the mountain, lightning in the air, gold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there. And blood lined the streets. Men were shot down for the sake of having fun, or just to hear the noise of their 44 guns. And there's fire on the mountain, lightning in the air, gold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there. Now my widow, she weeps by my grave. Tears flow free for her man couldn't save. Shot down in cold blood by a gun that carried fame, all for the useless and no good, worthless claim. And there's fire on the mountain, lightning in the air, gold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there. And there's fire on the mountain, lightning in the air, gold in them hills, and it's waiting for me there.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, YouTubers and friends, how are all of you doing tonight? Totally awesome, I hope. Totally awesome. No, Chris, I'm not working at the school, at least yet. Everybody, welcome to another Tuesday night Hangout live with ToledoJess and I. Tonight we have Brandee Radford. I guess she's pretty rad with a name like Radford, you know, but we'll learn more about her past in the Klondike, in the Yukon. She's the Canadian author of the book The Chain. And from what I understand, she's a real good storyteller, so that will make Jesse's job a lot easier, huh? So don't go away. We're about to start right after this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday night Hangout Live. It's Tuesday night Hangout Live with your hosts and Marvin. ToledoJess. Tuesday Night Hangout Live is a Flash in Your Pan production.
Every day on the cricket beat, flashes your plan.
Yeah, because if that happens,
That'll be the trick.
we better not do that.
The joys of live entertainment, Brandee.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, she was here.
She was here, she left. We have to start over again.
Good evening,
Well,
Jesse.
you know, just in case, just so you know, he's already started the show with us.
Well, you know, once it's
He
in
does that.
motion, it's in motion. You know, it's I
That's not bad.
Not much.
Not much.
Working away, going to Fossick this weekend. Wish you guys
Are ya?
were going. Yeah.
Me too, but my truck's not fixed. They threw me off into the corner and just waited because I'm such a nice guy. They just
You were just too nice. You should have been
Too nice,
in
and they
there
just
going,
my
what the
truck off
hell's
the side
going on around
worked
here?
on somebody else.
I don't pay you to have my truck for 9 flipping months.
It's only been 3 months, Ed. Quit exaggerating.
Okay,
stole it.
3 months. But gee whiz.
So let's say hi to our chat room here real quick.
Hey, chat
Then we
room.
can we can move on to our guests. I think our guests would probably be more fun to listen to than us.
I don't know.
Yeah, I do.
She's a lot better looking than us. That's for
I don't know about that either.
That goes without saying. All right. Hey, Patriot. PA Patriot.
Ohio Metal Maven. Hey, Nikki and Chad. I see Nailed It Detecting up there. Prospecting Buddy.
Friday.
Good to see you, buddy. Yeah.
Hello, Hobo Rob. Prospecting. Howdy.
Terry Lefty
right, yeah.
Marshall. How are you?
You must have shared it. Is that one of your friends? Chris Roberts.
What was that?
Hobo Rob.
Probably got a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Gold Panner.
Somewhere in Ohio.
Hello.
Welcome.
John Nevo.
And of course, the world's greatest moderator, Mr. Lodak. What's up, buddy?
Can't forget the guy you love to choke when you just meet him. Ohio Relic Hunter. Good to see you, Bill.
What's up, Bill?
David. Hola, bien amigo. ¿Cómo está usted?
What's up? David Villa in the house.
Yeah. Terry Curry. I saw. Oh,
of course,
wait,
Prospector
look, it's
Buddy.
Jason, BC Treasure Trails.
Cool,
Another
welcome.
good
Oh, look,
Canadian
Nightbot's in the house.
Chris, Goats Firewood and Farms. That I work with him once in a while.
Terry Curry, what's up?
GoPro Unlimited, good to see you, brother.
Nailed It Detecting, welcome.
Yeah,
Treasure
maybe
Trails.
they might come
Welcome.
to Bosick.
Oh yeah, cool.
Pitch a tent at our
Pitch a
camp.
tent.
Maybe.
Sorry.
I hope so.
I don't know. Goats. Oh, I already
Pardon?
said hi. Gold Panner. Welcome.
Joseph Knowlton. I hate butchering names, but I do it every week.
Every week. Vicky, what's up, Vicky? Long time no see. And Ryan, of course.
Glad you liked the music, Kane Friday. Good day, Mike. Good day, Mike. How you doing down there?
I think we got everybody, Ed.
Somewhere in Ohio. Did you get Brian? Somewhere in Ohio?
Yes, I did. I did. Did you?
I just did. Hey,
Oh.
Chris Roberts. How you doing?
Got him too.
Yeah, well. Hey.
All right. Hey.
Yeah. Vicky and Ryan, how are you doing? The Pierce family from beautiful Maine.
Yep.
I think we got them so far for now. I'm sure there'll be more rating.
Oh no, we forgot someone. Our lurkers.
That's right.
Lurkers.
Some of them are more famous than others, but we do love them all.
Absolutely.
Gotta love your lurkers.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right. You're a lurker.
You're a lurker. Hey,
I'm
you know
a
what?
bit of a
Here.
lurker.
This is something that kind of popped into my head a little earlier when we were talking. When you said, "Oh, I've caught a couple of your shows," I thought to myself, and she still came on.
Right. Because
she
we're
decided to
far
anyway?
from professional.
I found them very interesting.
Well, good.
Well,
and I tell you what, let's go ahead and introduce her, Ed. Introduce her.
Ladies, gentlemen, meet our guest tonight, author of the book The Chain. She has a gold mining history in the Yukon and the Klondike. She could talk about that if she wants. I'm sure we will, because that's where
I'm sure we'll get there somewhere.
Her story
We'll get in there
begins. In the Yukon anyway, I believe. So, but she's an author, and she rides a Harley and lives on a farm in beautiful Canada, British Columbia. What else? Let's get
That's
her
about-
up and
She likes
about-
long, slow walks on the beach and
Holding hands. Holding hands and big white snowflakes.
yeah.
right. Is that where you get Snowflake Juliet from?
Yes, I've had that email address since the beginning of internet time.
No,
Basically,
no,
I've kept that-
no. It
Yeah,
was
I've
a
kept that-
Yahoo account. It isn't AOL like Jesse's.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty much the beginning of
Hey.
time, like, and yes, that's where my email came from, was big white snowflakes holding hands, and that's all in the story of my book, because I wrote an ad to find my husband, and that was what I wrote, was desperately seeking Romeo, and that I liked holding hands, big white snowflakes, and long walks. So he answered my ad.
We have another Aussie in the house, Brad Welsh, and me Minor. How you doing, Greg? Another
He ans-
Canadian out of Ontario, huh?
So he answered your ad.
Yeah.
So
That's
was it
how
like,
my whole gold mining experience in life began. I started out in a small town in Canada, in the interior of BC. It's actually dubbed Mile Zero of the Gold Rush Trail, not the Klondike Gold Rush, but this was a smaller gold rush called the Fraser Canyon Gold Rush, or the Fraser
Okay.
River
Yeah,
Gold Rush.
yeah.
And there's a lot of panners, a lot of prospectors that still go panning in the Fraser River, because there is quite a bit of gold there. So I started out in a small town there. And of course, every girl wants to get out of a small town. And I ended up moving to the big city of Vancouver, which is close to Seattle. And I had changed a lot of things about myself. I was a real party person. I was heading down the wrong trail. All my friends were, not doing well, and drugs and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to change my life.
typical American youth?
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you live in a small town, what else is there to do? But
Right,
some
right.
people go one way in my town, and I went the bad girl way. And but I seen what had happened to my friends, or what was happening, and I didn't want to end up like that.
Sounds a lot
I-
like me,
Right.
actually, Brandee.
Yeah. And now, yeah, I don't drink. I don't do anything now. So I'm totally the opposite of what I was back then. And I'd always wanted to travel the world. Like, that was a huge thing for me. I was very adventurous, and wasn't like my parents much at all, because they stuck to theirs. They stuck to Canada. They didn't travel anywhere. And so I decided to become a travel agent, and I started school as a travel agent. And because I quit drinking and everything, I would never meet anybody in a bar. So I thought, well, I'll put an ad in the local newspaper, because back then there was no internet, there was no POF or whatever, right? So I just put an ad in the newspaper, and the headline was "Desperately Seeking Romeo." And Juliet was, and described myself as 5'7", blonde, blue eyes, funny, loyal, love to take long walks holding hands, and big white snowflakes. And I had a few guys that answered that ad. One ended up being my husband, but my husband said that what made him answer that ad was because he thought to himself, what other color would a snowflake be? So other than white. So he thought that was kind of funny, right? so that's how we met. And he had just started mining for a friend of his. He was a home builder in Langley, well, just outside of Vancouver. He was a home builder, and they had rough times. And so he decided that's something he always wanted to do. And he decided to go work for a friend of his, and then ended up buying a mine the year before we met. And so when we met, I looked after his kids for that one summer that he was up mining. And then the second season, I ended up going mining with him up in the Yukon. So it was a whole brand new experience. I was adventurous, but I was the kind of girl that I wore a lot of makeup. I dressed up. I wore heels all the time. I didn't like camping. I didn't like doing anything like that. So to me, this was a real adventure, going straight into the middle of the bush in the middle.
So that was when you started looking for gold, was after you met him?
Yeah, after I met him, basically we started our first mine together. He had just gathered equipment and stuff the year before, but we actually put together the mine and got it up and running. And so that was my very first experience, was just flying literally into the middle of nowhere and getting
So
dropped off by helicopter.
So you'd never even prospected or even done anything like that before?
Nothing. Didn't know
Nothing, huh?
anything about anything.
Wow.
I didn't know anything about equipment, or I was actually kind of scared of equipment when I first was around it, because it's pretty big stuff. And like I said, I was a girly girl. I was a girly girl. I'm not anymore. I've changed over the years, but when I was younger, I was very much a girly girl. Like I was, you know, the nails, the hair, the makeup, the dresses, the heels. So for me, this was very different.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it was
From
exciting.
girly girl to mountain girl.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a lot
But I
like
loved
me.
it. I loved every minute of it. And still to this day, I have gold fever and I will never get rid of it. I know for a while there, I didn't want to do it anymore because there was issues with my marriage that wasn't working out between us. So we needed to separate. And so I had to move away from the gold mining industry, but I do still love it. And I once you have gold fever, you never get rid of it. I mean, I'm sure that all your lurkers and all of your subscribers know that, right?
Right,
yeah,
absolutely.
it's like a very bad disease, but in a good way once you catch gold fever.
Oh, right. That's the good part about it. It's a terrible disease to have, but it has worth.
Yeah, and especially when you're a bigger time miner than, like, we were in the top 5 producing mines for many years. And it was sort of a very small taste of celebrity is what it was, because everywhere you went, like my husband would carry pockets full of nuggets. Like we'd get big nuggets, like our biggest one was 6 or 7 ounces, I do believe. But we'd go into the sluice box every day and we'd just pick out a whole bunch of nuggets and he'd keep them in his pocket. And whenever we were in town, he would pull them out because he just wanted to see people's reactions. So if he was paying for something, he would pull them out of his pocket so you could see them and pick out a dime or a quarter or whatever he needed. And then of course everybody would be going, "Oh my God, what's that? Are those nuggets?" And of course, you know, and then pretty soon you got a whole crowd of people around you.
Right.
And so it's a bit of celebrity when you, and now it must be worse because of all of these shows that are out there. It must be even worse for people that are mining. Not worse, but it must be, they're even more of a celebrity probably now because so many people are interested in gold mining now.
Well, I tell you, when I talk to people about gold and prospecting and you know, finding gold here in Ohio, and first of all, they think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
There's no gold in Ohio.
There's no gold.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is there gold in Ohio?
Yeah, it came from Ontario. And no, Liz, you can't have it back. You too, Greg.
And then the fact that I'm able to find it now, you know, a lot of people don't realize there's still gold all over the place.
Yeah. So they haven't even found like a small percentage of the gold that's out there.
Yeah, I think what do they say, 10% all has been found?
Something like
throughout
that.
all of history. Wow.
Yeah. The funny thing is that people keep searching for it all over the world. Like if you watch, do you guys watch Gold Rush?
No.
No?
No.
I do watch Parker's Trail sometimes when I can.
Yeah, see, now he's traveling the world looking for gold, but they all end up back in the Klondike. They all end up back there because I think that that's really some of the best gold in the world is in the Klondike.
I mean, I like the people. We've actually had a lot of those. I'm not gonna say a lot. We've had a few of those people from the different shows on here talking to them. But yeah, the shows are too much drama.
Yeah, too much. Yeah,
because we, you know, doing it ourselves, and you know, we know all that's involved pretty much in doing that kind of stuff. So when you watch the show and all that goes from one drama scene to the next, and you're going, well, what about, you know, we want to see this, you know, but that's not what they want to show.
I don't know why they don't have a real show out there, like one that really shows what it's all about and all the real hardships that they go through, because there is a lot of
Because it
shit
doesn't
that happens.
sell. It
Yeah, I
doesn't sell.
guess. Yeah.
There's not enough drama. The only thing that sells
Whoa.
on drama or on TV is
Drama.
TNA and drama. I'll say
Yeah,
it that way.
weird.
Yeah, right, right.
TNA and drama. You got
Yeah.
TV. So, but when you were, I know you said you were adventurous. Did you ever, when you were young, did you ever think that about treasure hunting itself?
Well, Lillooet, the town that I lived in, is a big, it was a gold country too, and jade. There was a lot of jade around there. And so there was a lot of rock hounds in Lillooet, which is my hometown. Yeah, so I was kind of interested in the rock hounding a bit. You know, when I was that age, no. When I was in my teens, no. My hormones kicked in and I was screwed. But you know, there was just the rock gathering stuff, because my sister and her brother, they were totally into rock collecting and things like that, but not so much gold. I didn't know anything about that until I got into my late 20s, early 30s.
So your gold adventure started after you got married. You got a mine. You got to work in it. And we all know it's hard work. It's hard. Did your mine pay off for you?
It did, but our problem was that we kept wanting to get bigger. And
everybody's problem.
Yeah. And I think that if we'd stayed smaller, it probably would have worked out better for us. But it wasn't just mining. We ended up buying a bunch of businesses and stuff in back home area, restaurants, marinas, campgrounds, stuff like that. We started trying to
get your money to work for you.
Exactly, but it didn't work out. That kind of destroyed it. That destroyed everything. And I think if we'd stayed small and never did any of that and just had one small mine, just the family working, it would have worked out. But at one point we had probably 15 people working for us. You know, then you need cooks and you need everything, right? So
you need the main person and all their support.
Yeah. And then we wanted to have, I think that, I'm not going to blame anybody here, but I think that some people wanted to be the biggest they had to have the biggest bulldozer and the biggest excavator. And, you know, so those things are, you know, a couple $1 million for a big bulldozer. And it's just so the payments were just brutal and trying to keep up with it. But I mean, we would produce probably 3,000 ounces a year, which was fairly decent back then.
Well, you know, and that's the way, you know, I look at it like this. I'm a little small time guy, goes out on the weekends or often as he can. If I were to do more than that, it would cost me way more than I'm ever going to find doing what I do. Yeah. You know, and if I want it to pay off, then I have to not only buy bigger equipment, I have to buy property. That's just more headache. I'm retired.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You just want to do it as a hobby and have fun, which is what by the way, I'm taking up now. I've gone back to actual gold panning. So I don't know how I'm going to get back into the world of gold mining, but I'm just starting by just going back gold panning. And there's some really good places around where I live. And so I've gone back to the basics of just panning and seeing what I can find, and, you know, getting gold fever back revved up and see where it goes. But, yeah, sometimes going too big isn't the best way to go with things. And we started out small.
It looks good. Looks good on paper. I mean, really, it looks good on paper. I look at some of these gold shows like Gold Rush. Yeah. And I look at their pans of what they're doing and what they're finding. And I'm looking at where I prospect for gold, and I'm thinking, well, you know, if I moved as much dirt as they're able to move, hell, I could do almost as good as them, you know. Well, but course, you gotta because our gold here is all, you know, glacial gold. Yeah, it's all really fine. You know?
Fine gold weighs heavy though, right?
Well, it takes up
pure.
There's less airspace.
Yeah.
you know,
That
between
picture you guys have of me with the on your cover there
Yeah.
with the gold pan, that was $1 million worth of gold in that pan.
that's
That was
cool.
that was the one and only time we had $1 million in our pan. So but
That
that
must
was
have been
only
awesome.
that was only a few weeks, I think, of work.
Yeah. I mean, I know I can't even imagine what that feels like. I know what it feels like when I'm working all day and I get a gram or
Yeah,
close
I
to
know.
a gram. You know? I'm like, yeah, I got it today.
Yeah, well, when you're thinking, you don't know what it feels like because all you feel is, oh my God, I have all these bills to pay and this barely is going to pay it. So it's the same thing, whether it's bigger or smaller. If you have a large
Right,
amount or a small
right.
amount, you got your bills
Right.
to pay before anything else. And
Well, and I
it's a
put
lot.
all that, yeah, and I put all that sweat equity into it all day working on it. And I
Yeah.
come out with, you know, not even day wages, but I'm still happy.
Yeah. Well, we used to work like sun up to sundown in the Yukon. Sundown was sometimes all night. So
Right, right.
so you did a lot of 16-hour days. When I first started, like when we got dropped off in the middle of nowhere, I was clueless as to what I was getting myself into. And I didn't even think about it. I just went with the flow. And, you know, one day I'm cooking because I thought that's what I would do when I was there because I could cook. I was a good cook. So I cooked for the guys. And then eventually I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sit in camp anymore. I wanted to get down there with the guys. So there was me and my husband and one other guy. And we did all the stripping. And I started running bulldozer first. Which I was terrified of it, like, because the thing was massive. The tracks came up over my head, right? And that was just a
Right.
D10N, so that's not a huge bulldozer, but I was terrified of it, and I hated it. One time I got out of it and I was sitting on the ground, literally crying. I wanted to get a bomb and blow the friggin' thing up because I couldn't get it to level properly. So once I mastered that, then I felt a little better. But my favorite piece of equipment was always an excavator because I just once I figured it out and got the hang of it, I just clicked with an excavator and never really wanted to run a bulldozer again.
Yeah,
And,
heavy equipment is scary at first, but it's so much fun once you get the hang of it.
it's a lot of
gonna
fun.
stop you.
I like it because you're on your own and you don't have
Right.
anybody telling you what to do,
Right.
and I would just put in music and just crank it and sing to the top of my lungs and nobody there to listen. And yeah, the only thing is you don't get a lot of exercise in equipment. And you sit there and eat too much.
you get a little round.
Yeah, exactly. But I was still young, so I wasn't getting around then, so I could eat whatever I wanted.
So you get married, you have a mine, you're making some money.
Yeah.
And then doo-doo hits the fan.
Due to what?
Doo-doo hits the fan.
Doo-doo hits the fan. Well, when we first started mining, we were doing really good. Like I said, we were in top 5 producing mines for a while, and then gold plummeted. I don't know if you guys remember, but gold plummeted down to 250, I think, for many years. And that's
Well,
when
that'd
So
been the
you were
early
mining
70s.
a lot in the 80s when it was high, and then
yeah, it was in the 90s. I can't remember
The
the exact
90s?
year. Yeah,
Oh.
so it was down to 250 for quite a few years, and so we were producing so much gold. If it had been at the prices that they're getting today, it would have been we would have totally been retired and by the
Right.
time
Yeah.
it went so low. And yeah, doo-doo hit the fan, and they came and seized all our equipment.
Huh.
So that was really hard, and then we kind of made it back again and started over in a totally different creek. And I'd heard stories about this creek, kind of about this guy named John Madsen that had mined there, and people think that that he had been killed by a wolf. And I just heard all these kind of little stories about him. And so when we first landed on the airstrip at that particular site, so those claims are called Madsen Creek. So all the creeks that you mine have names in the Yukon, and that one was Madsen Creek. And when we landed on the airstrip, I kind of just looked around. There was snowy still on the mountains, and I was cold, and you know, this is a new adventure for us. And so I was kind of excited because there was a road to town. So for me, that was huge because our other creek, we couldn't drive to town at all. So I got very claustrophobic there. So I was really excited about this place. And when I'm standing on the airstrip and I looked around, there's this big rock outcropping, kind of maybe a quarter mile away. And I said to my husband at the time, if I was John Matson, because there were stories that he'd buried his gold around there. So I said, if I was John Matson, that's where I would bury my gold. And he just laughed at me and he said, why on earth would you say that? And I just thought because that's the only place that he could always see. He would always know what was there, whether the leaves were on the trees or off the trees or winter, summer, fall, you would always see that rock outcropping. So he just laughed at me, he thought, because everybody's been looking for this guy's gold forever. And I knew that I would find something there. And so I made him take me up there one day, many months after we'd been on this creek. We finally hiked it up there. And as soon as I got there, I found this coffee can. And it was almost like it was just set there, meant for me to find. And it's the strangest thing, like, how would this happen? How would I find this? Why was this meant for me to find? Like, because it's in the middle of literally nowhere. And how would I know to go there? And I started actually having dreams about all of this stuff. So I don't know if I'm psychic or what, but anyways, so this is the actual can that I found. I don't know if you can see it, but it says Hills Brothers along out there. So it's a very old can, and this is how I found it. And I thought, oh my God, I grabbed this can. I'm going, oh my God, there's going to be the treasure map in here. This is going to tell me where all the gold is to be buried, right? So when I pulled this lid off, it was vacuum sealed. Like for 40 some years, it sat out there in the middle of nowhere with everybody looking for this stuff. Like people that had mined previous to us, they were looking to find anything they could of his. But when I pulled off the lid, like the smell that came out of here was just amazing because it was so old and so it was musty and there was all this paperwork in there, and I have all these pieces of paper that were shoved in here. And this
before you open that, oh well, that's all right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
These guys want a closer look of the treasure porn you have there in your hand.
Of the can?
Yes, that's okay. Treasure porn to them.
Can you see?
Just a coffee can, but look at it.
Yeah, it's a coffee can. You can barely make out.
Yeah, but you can see the label on it.
Yeah, it says Hills Brothers.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know if you can see this side. So yeah, it's a Hills Brothers coffee can. When I opened it, like I said, there was a whole bunch of paperwork in there. I thought for sure this was going to be a treasure map. I didn't really want to open everything there because I was sitting in the middle of nowhere. I didn't want to lose anything.
Right.
We ended up we packed it back up, got back on our four-wheelers, headed back to camp. And then I popped the top off. And like I said, the smell was just amazing. And I went through all these pieces of paper that I'll show you guys. And every piece of paper was preserved perfectly because it was vacuum sealed in this can. Like, it looks better than new almost, some of it. Like it's amazing. And then do you want me to continue on with what within the can?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the part that
yeah.
Well, I just want to make sure you don't have any questions yet. So
no, we're there.
So I pulled out, I don't have all the paperwork in here, but there's little things like this little book here. I don't know if you can see this little book. It's very tattered, and inside all it is just a bunch of miscellaneous writing. I don't know what he was doing.
Like notes and stuff?
Well, it looks like a lot of it is he was keeping tabs of his gold production, like how many.
A ledger of some sort.
Yeah, like there was a lot of numbers, parts of the creek. So I'm assuming he was marking down how many ounces he found in a certain part of the creek or whatever.
Ooh, that sounds like it's something to be worth.
I know.
Exploring.
And then he just signed his name a lot. He was Norwegian, so he couldn't speak a lot of English. So I think he was practicing signing his name a lot. So things like that were in there.
That was her husband, right?
Yeah, well, I'm going to get to that.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
I'm sorry. Just shut up, Jesse. Listen.
So this was his glasses case. It was in there, you can see. And can you see the little glass? It's only, I think I drank too much
and the
coffee. I'm really
And
shaky.
the glasses were in there, huh?
Yeah, look. Can you see them?
Oh, cool. Some old
Oh, wow.
specs.
There's
The
no,
reading specs, it looks like.
yeah, there's no glass left in them, obviously.
Oh,
Yeah. That, and then after all the paperwork and that, and I kind of shook the can, I thought it was empty. And at the very bottom of the can was this box. If you can see the box. And he's got it wound in.
Little to your left.
Oh, to the left?
Yeah, right there. You're like perfect center. Okay, cool.
So it's wound up in this old string, and I was unwinding this string. It was so cool. Like when I found this, I was so excited.
I'm amazed at how well preserved it is.
I know. It's because of it's because it was vacuum sealed. So inside is this old cotton, and the box had kind of given way, like it had bent in, but inside was this. And I can see it. So this is the chain.
And that's so beautiful too.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
there it is. That's what I've been wanting to see.
Yeah. So this is actually a watch chain.
It's a watch
he would-
fob, right?
It's a watch chain. So he would wear it like this. I don't know if you can see, but like this. And the watch would be attached to this.
Right.
So
Yep.
the chain is all ivory, woolly mammoth ivory.
Again, a little over to your left. There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Woolly mammoth ivory.
Oh, nice.
Gold nuggets. There's one there. So these were all gold nuggets, woolly mammoth ivory, and then this coin. I don't know if you can see the coin.
To the left. There. Yeah.
So that coin is 1849 California Gold Rush coin.
Nice.
Wow.
So when I did research on this coin, I believe that he came from Norway. He doesn't have any family left. There's nobody I can talk to. There's nobody I can ask questions. So I just did as much research as I could through books, articles, the museum, whatever. But he came from Norway and he went to the US and he became a US citizen. And I actually have found also his declaration of intention to become a US citizen. And this was in, I can never remember the date, sorry. This was in 1896. This is how this paperwork came to me. It looks like almost perfect.
Wow.
That was in the can?
This was in the can, yeah.
Wow. It is wow.
So that's his declaration of intention to become a US citizen. So I found what I think that coin is I think that either his grandfather or somebody or his father was in the California gold rush and he was there and that's where he got the gold coin from. His grandfather or his father had the coin and he gave it to him. I believe that's the story behind the chain. And it was very, very important to him. This was something that he would never leave without him, like without his person. He always had it. So when I read, when I found this can and I went into Dawson City in the Yukon, in the Klondike, and they let me see the secret files that they had on John Matson. I forgot where I was going with that. What was I saying?
Secret files?
Yeah, why was I going to tell you about the secret files?
You found,
Anyways,
because you were curious to why, because he always had that, why wasn't it with him? Why it
wasn't with him, which I found out later why it wasn't with him through all of the paperwork that I'd found in the can. So in the can, I found that he thought somebody was trying to rob him. He with all the little pieces of paperwork that I had, I patched together the story of John Matson and what happened to him. some people believe he was murdered, but so I never solved that. I still think there's more to find out. Like, I really feel that I was meant to find this stuff for some reason. Like, how would I just go into the middle of nowhere and know where this can was? Like, there's a reason that I found this can, and I still believe that there's more to find out to this story. Because when I started doing research, I found out that John Matson had actually married Klondike Kate Rockwell, who was the most famous woman of the Klondike, well, one of the most famous women of the Klondike at that time, right?
Right.
She was a dancer and a singer, and she was adored by all of the prospectors. She became very, very wealthy because of her dances. She was a very risque dancer for the time, so she was, the men just loved her.
Very pretty lady too.
Yeah, she was very pretty. She was like, she was bigger, but back then women were bigger. Like, beauty wasn't all about being thin back then. It was, you know, so when we look at women back in time, they were usually a bit bigger than we are now. And
yeah, they're not your Virginia Slims.
They were
no.
Voluptuous is a good word.
Yeah, she was voluptuous. She was risque. She never ever was nude ever, but she would do this dance. It was a very famous dance that she did called the chiffon dance, and she would wrap herself in 100 yards of chiffon, and the prospectors fashioned a crown out of tin cans on her head, and then they put 50 candles, lit candles, on this crown, and they would light them, and then she would do her dance, and they would pull the chiffon off her, and she would come out with very skimpy clothing, but not naked or anything like that.
Right.
The men literally threw bags of gold at her, nuggets, gold dust, whatever. She made a fortune. She was making upwards of $750 a night just in tips. And then she was
wasn't she doing like 30,000 a year?
Yes. Yeah, so one year
she
was, yeah, that was her first year
That's-
there too. Yeah. Yeah, back in the day, that was serious money. So
Yeah.
so so when I found the can and I found all this stuff, and I didn't know that he'd married Klondike Kate. I didn't know that. I knew that John Matson was buried at her site. Like, he has a headstone there. And then when I took all this stuff into the museum and they let me look at all their files, I just started patching all this stuff together. And so my book was born basically out of that, because I'd always wanted to tell my story of mining. Like, I know that people were very interested in mining, in gold mining.
Right.
And I knew that just from talking, because when you talk to people, I mean, sometimes I would lose my voice from talking so much because people are so interested about it. And so I always knew I wanted to do that. I was wanting to videotape our mining claims long before Gold Rush came along. That was something that I wanted to do, and I wish I'd done it. I would have beat all those other guys out of there, but I didn't. I didn't have the know-how, I guess, to find somebody to come and do it. And yeah, so that's how my book was born.
So about your book, when I was reading about it, you describe it as your life following the same path as hers.
Yes.
As you were growing up, because she was when I was saying her mom got divorced.
Yes.
She was young, and basically when she was in her teens, she did the same thing. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And
When
mom wasn't the best mom.
No, well, she was. I mean, she wasn't the worst mom, put it that way.
No.
She, her mom had high expectations for herself and wanted to be well off. So she looked for a couple of men that would help her get there. And she divorced. So she divorced Kate's dad, and then she divorced the second husband that she was with. And then her and Kate boarded a cruise ship, not a cruise ship, but a ship back in the day, and they went sailing around the world. And her mom dropped her off in Chile at a convent because she was being too promiscuous on board. So her mom dropped her off there, and then she went off on her own little jaunt around the world with a man that she had met. And then she went back to the US and left Kate in the convent in Chile. And then the nuns had telegraphed her mother to tell her that Kate was now engaged to some Spanish, I don't know, some Spanish guy. And so they shipped her back to the US, back to her mom. And when she got back there, she found out that her mom was basically broke and needed Kate to go back to work. She needed Kate to work for her to keep her in money. So so Kate didn't really care for her mom too much, but she loved her. Like, you know, she didn't care for her because she wanted her, she was using Kate's beauty and charm to help her fund her own life, right? So, and Kate decided that she didn't want to just work at a factory or whatever, and she heard about there was a newspaper clipping for chorus girls, that they were looking for chorus girls, no experience necessary. And so she thought she'd apply, and lo and behold, she had a natural talent. And then she heard about the Klondike, the gold rush, and she headed up that way, and that's where she became famous. Instantly, she became a celebrity. So
yeah, there's not a whole lot about her on the internet. I'm sure if I did more digging, there'd be more. But I did find some stuff about her, and it was really interesting. Like I was telling you earlier, she, towards her later part of her year, she was on the Groucho Marx show in '54. And then we were talking earlier about, I imagine those two weren't the only Klondike Kates in the Klondike. I'm sure a lot of women who were doing well, being one of the guys, or being the girl, would have been called Klondike Kate wherever they were at. So I'm sure there's a bunch of them.
well,
today they got wrestlers.
yeah. The one that has a real issue with her being, with Kate being called Klondike Kate, or Kate Rockwell, she was actually a Mountie from Canada. So she was a police officer from Canada. I didn't know about the wrestler from my research, but I didn't know that, but I knew about the Canadian Mountie. And so, yeah, it was the prospectors who named her Klondike Kate. And I don't think that the Mountie was named from the prospectors. I think that was just her name. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Mounties called her.
Right.
You know, but supposedly she was a top cop, especially for a woman. She was honored as the best mounted police, a woman mounted police one time. And I really, I don't know. I just, when you start researching, you run into these other things, and you go, well, let me check out this. So is there a real rivalry? Probably not. Maybe
I think there was, actually.
Was there?
Yeah, I think there was back then, but I mean, not anymore. I don't know if that Klondike Kate has any family around still or anything. Like Klondike Kate Rockwell, my Klondike Kate, she didn't. I tried to find family. I tried to find that there was nobody. Now she was rumored to have a child. Okay, so when Klondike Kate went to the Yukon, she fell in love with a bartender, the lowly bartender, and his name was Alexander Pantages. Now, Klondike Kate Kate Rockwell already had made a fortune for herself.
Right.
And she fell in love with this guy. He was just a bartender. He decided he wanted to open up another dance hall. And so she funded it. And she began to fund most of his dance halls that he started to open, and he opened many of them. He became very, very wealthy. And there's a rumor that Klondike Kate became pregnant, but this is a very, very one-liner thing that I found in newspaper articles. So we don't know for sure how true it is, but it was written out there before, and that's where I took it from, that she became pregnant and she gave the child away. She went back to Oregon and she gave the child to somebody. So that would be her only sibling, like only family at all. Yeah. Right. But I haven't been able to find anything about that. So, because I really tried really hard when I found all of this stuff to give some paperwork to some family. I gave paperwork to the museum in Dawson City. I wanted them to have some of the paperwork. There was many things that were duplicates that I had, like he saved every every form that he had for his placer mining lease. So
Uh-huh.
I have them right from when his very first placer lease form that he had to fill out. I have that. I have quite a few of them, so I gave them to the museum, and I gave them quite a few things.
Cool.
Yeah, so I would have loved to have found some family, even if it was granddaughters, great granddaughters, whatever, to
Right.
give them something to. And John Matson had nobody. He had his sister, and there's some letters that were written in Norwegian that I've never been able to decipher. I need to take them to somebody to see what they say. So there's letters to his sisters, bank books, bank articles, all kinds of like just weird stuff that he kept. And like I said, he thought that somebody was trying to steal all his gold.
Right.
He'd only gone into Dawson City a couple of times, so he was very, very remote. And he used to get the indigenous people to bring him his supplies. They would bring them by dog sled. And then once or twice he went into town, and that's how we first met Klondike Kate Rockwell, as he'd seen her dance. And she actually talked to him. I found this out through my research, that she actually talked to him, but he couldn't speak any English, so she didn't really get to know him, but she always remembered him. She remembered him by the way he looked and everything. So one time when he'd gone into town and he came back, he found some of the stuff was missing. So that's why he hid it. So in this can, and through the paperwork that was in this can, I found out that there was 52 of these coffee cans that he brought in with him. So I still think there's 51 cans out where I was mining, and I think they're full of gold. So
Wow.
this is my thing, is to get back to that area. And because like I said before, I believe there's a reason that I found this stuff, and I don't think the story's over yet.
So was there go ahead. I'll wait.
I'm just saying one day I will get back out there, and because he had a list of everything that he would bring with him into camp. So in total, for the time that he was out there, he had 52 of these coffee cans, and we've never found another one, just this one. So I believe that he buried his gold, because when he died, Klondike Kate Rockwell wanted to know where all his gold was, because he would send her money all the time. She never lived in camp with him. She went back to Oregon and lived there, and he would just send her like money via telegram or however they did it back then. But and then when all of a sudden that gold stopped coming, the money stopped coming, and she sent the Mounties out into camp to try to find out what happened to him, and they found him headless in his cabin. So his body was in the cabin and his head was not. They found his head in a totally another area of where we were mining. But she thinks that he was murdered by his so-called best friend that would come out and visit him. She thinks he was murdered. So that's what she said in the paperwork that I had discovered. So
was there a lot of information about her in that can?
Very little. All there was a couple of telegrams from him to or from her to him. There was one telegram from her to him when they were having problems getting money back and forth to her. And then one telegram to the Mounties in Dawson City, wanting to know where he was, because he had failed to send her money. So she basically sent the RCMP out there, and they had to go with dog sleds. It was in the middle of winter. It wasn't a pleasant trip. It's a long trip to get in there. So it was it's not like he was mining close to town. Like for me, when I drove into town in a pickup truck, it took me a good 6 hours to fly. It was about an hour into camp to fly. So for him to go out, to walk out, it would take him days. And he had little cabins along the way, I think, to stay as he went. But
so let me get this right. You were interested in Klondike Kate before you found that can, or is that something that piqued your interest?
Yes.
You were interested in her before, and then finding that can just made you know that this is what you got to be doing. I mean,
and I could never get it out of my.
I mean, were you actually if I'm phrasing this right, were you going out there with the intentions of finding stuff about him and her?
No, I didn't
No?
know anything about any of it. When I first got to the Yukon, when I first started mining, I knew I had to take some reading materials with me into camp because what else was I going to do for 6 months of
Right.
the year other than work? Like we didn't have TV or anything. So I started buying books and I started reading stories. Like there's quite a few books out there on the gold rush, right? And so I started learning about the women of the Klondike, and she always piqued my interest because she was a daredevil like me. She was adventurous. She
Right.
didn't like authority like me. I hated authority. I still do. But yeah, so I just thought she was a super cool chick, and I thought I was a super cool chick, and so I had always an interest in her. So our very first mine, I wasn't looking for anything about Klondike Kate. I was just reading stories about her. But when we moved to our second mining claim, I'd heard stories about John Matson, who is the guy who originally staked our claims that we were mining on. And when I found the can, that was the one and only time that I knew that John Matson had married Klondike Kate. I didn't know that prior.
Yeah, so that's the claim that he was working when they were married, right? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and he's actually buried there. So his headstone is there. And I used to go and visit his headstone. I used to sit there and talk to him. And when I was going through some really rough times in my marriage, because I was married while I was there, I would go and sit down there and talk to him. And I swear that I felt his presence there more than once. I felt him sit on the edge of my bed. And I know people might think I'm crazy, but I mean, there was the connection between me and him and me and Klondike Kate. And when I found out that he'd married her, and when I did all the research and I realized that her and I lived parallel lives, we both ended up in the gold mining industry. She wasn't a gold miner, but she was a gold miner in her own way.
Yeah.
And
there was a good story about her gold mining. Maybe it, I'm sure, about her bracelets and her belt.
I don't know that.
About her bracelet and her belt.
I don't know it.
Well, you want to continue with, and then I'll tell the story here in a little bit.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I didn't know anything about her. You have to forgive me because my mind goes a lot. I have what's called fibromyalgia, and I have really bad brain fog. So a lot of times I can't remember what the hell I was talking about it. But
that's okay. I don't have fibromyalgia, and I have that same problem.
Same here. We call it CRS.
Yeah, we call it CRS.
It could be all the things I did when I was younger too.
Right.
I played with my brain. So yeah, so I didn't know anything about it. What was your question to me now? I totally forgot again.
Forgot.
So we're not any good.
Oh well, no, I asked you. Yeah, go ahead, Ed. Go ahead and ask that question.
GoPro Unlimited has a question. He was asking, Brandee, is there any connection to Porter Rockwell?
Porter Rockwell? Not that I know of. I can't say 100%, but not through any research that I've done.
Okay, and David V said of the shipping Matsons. I guess they were shipping moguls.
No, because this Matson was from Norway. He was Norwegian. He was from Norway, so I don't believe that. And I didn't find any relatives of his at all.
Okay.
But the bartender that she married, the guy that started up the theaters, he became very successful from what I understand.
Very successful. He was, I forget how many millions he was worth. And back then that was a lot of money. But he had millions, like 15 million or something like that. He created dance halls like one after another. And he basically financed them through her. And then she
financed them.
Yes, she financed them. And then he had promised to marry her. So back in the day, if you promised to marry somebody, that was a real thing. Like nowadays, that doesn't mean anything, but to her in court, that actually meant something because he had promised to marry her. So while she was funding all of his business adventures, she stayed back in the Klondike and continued to work so that she could keep funding him
Right.
under the pretense that he was going to marry her. And so when she finally left the Klondike and went back to where he was in the States, he told her he still didn't have enough money, that she had to continue working. So she went to Seattle. I think she went back to Seattle and did some more dance halls there. And that's when a friend of hers came up to her and said, have you read this newspaper clipping? And there in the newspaper clipping, he'd married a 17-year-old girl that worked for him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So she tried to take him to court. It didn't really pan out well for her, because back in those days, it was very hard for a woman, especially who wasn't married, to collect anything that she'd used to help,
That's a
Up-
shame.
There were no laws to protect the women
No.
then.
Poor
No.
sugar mama got taken.
Yeah, so
Right.
she lost everything. He married somebody else. And then not too long after that, he was charged with raping a girl. And they asked Kate Rockwell to go to court against him she never had to, but she was asked to go. She went to the trial. She actually talked to Alex there. And she said she started crying when she seen him, because she felt so bad for him, seeing how low he had become, how lowly he looked, how distraught and everything. And it's not that she wanted him to be back with him, but she just felt, because she was a good person, as I am a good person. And she felt bad for him. And he did go to jail, but he was only there for a year or two. And then he died 5 years later of a heart attack after he got out of jail.
So I was gonna see, you don't remember reading about the bracelet and the belt?
I don't.
So as a she really wasn't a come on girl, but part of her job in those places was to get the guys to buy booze.
Yes.
So
She got
would walk
25
around.
cents.
Right. She would walk around trying to
Yeah.
get these guys to buy booze. Well, while she was doing that, she wore a bracelet that had $20 gold pieces in them.
Mhm.
Right. There was always one missing on her bracelet. There was always one missing. And she'd go up and talk to the guys and get them to buy
did she
drinks.
tell?
And then, oh, look, your $20 gold piece must have fell out. Well, here's one for you.
Yeah.
She would do the same thing with her belt. She had a belt the same way.
Oh, I never heard this.
And on one side, she had a spot where a $20 gold piece would fit. She had one on each side that was empty, and she would leave them that way. And the guys would put coins in her. So that's how she may have been a really nice woman and all, but she knew how to hustle, right?
Yes, she definitely did.
Right, and that's how she got her $30-some thousand a year, by doing that. I mean, that was the game back then, especially for young women who, I mean, if you're not married, raising 100 kids, then you're in the dance halls or you're doing menial work, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because so many women in the Klondike Gold Rush became wealthy, but a lot of them were by doing laundry, by cooking, or prostitution. She was never she claims to the day that she died that she never prostituted herself.
And that's what I heard too.
Yeah.
She didn't have. Well, and the reason was because she was pretty enough, she didn't have to.
Yeah. Well, and she choreographed her own dances, and she just created these dances that were mesmerizing. And the chiffon one was the one that really got the guys, and they would literally just throw bags and nuggets at her. So they would let her pick out.
And I guess
this is
the
something else.
rule was if it landed on the stage, it was hers.
Exactly. And she would just collect them all. And then she also got paid afterwards to mingle with the patrons and to get them to buy a drink. So every drink that they drank, she would get 25 cents. So that's how it was also dancing too. So if she would dance with them, she would get paid even more for that, I think. And the drink.
And don't forget the $20 gold pieces.
Yeah. And the guys, when they would show her a handful of nuggets, and she was allowed to pick one out, but she always felt for the heaviest one. She always picked out the
Yeah,
heaviest.
right. Get the heaviest one.
Well, who wouldn't, right?
Right. I'd go, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting just reading what I read about her, a little bit of research that I did. And then during that, like I told you before, she was on the Grosso Marx show for
Yeah.
one of your what's the name of it? You Bet Your Life.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of cool to watch her. It was a little sad because it was towards the end of her life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that she always had, you know, when you get that little bit of celebrity and a little bit of fame, you're always craving that, right? And I think that
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, right. You know. Oh yeah.
She always craved that, and she had money, and I mean, going from when you have money into going to nothing, that happened to me also. So these are all of the things that Kate and I had in common. We were adventurous. We didn't like authoritarianism. We didn't like, you know, we just wanted to be out there doing our own thing and making our own way. And here's my brain gone. I can't even remember what I was talking about.
Sounds like the rest of us. So let's get you onto your book here.
Okay.
Your book, from the little bit that I read about it, you say it's a story about your mining adventures and how it runs parallel with Klondike Kate. So is it more about your adventures mining or about her?
It's more about it's more about my adventures of mining. I know that people who have read it have wished that there was more about my stories. So I thought it was probably 3/4 is about me. There's 3 or 4 chapters of Klondike Kate and John. So it's mostly about my stuff and my marriage and what happened and how I lost everything. Like Kate lost everything. I lost everything. She lost everything to Alex Pantages. I lost everything to my husband. Now, I'm sure that somebody's going to dispute that, but that's what happened.
It's not a new story.
Yeah. Well, usually it's the other way around, right? So people will say, oh, how could you lose everything to your husband? But I did. Usually it's the other way around. So I did, and I ended up basically, I had nothing. I had nowhere to live. I had to sell every piece of my jewelry. I don't have one gold nugget. I had so many gold nuggets. I had necklaces and watches and rings and everything you can imagine. And I had to sell it all. I lost my home. I had a business a restaurant that I was running. I lost that. I lost my dog who died. And then on top of that, I was reassessed by Revenue Canada, and I owed them $2.4 million. And I eventually had to go bankrupt and start from nothing.
Wow.
But I always had this book that I had to write, and I couldn't sleep at night. I could not stop thinking that I needed to get this out there, whether people bought it or not. I just had to write it and get it out there. And I believe that it would be a much better Netflix series or mini.
Back in the 30s, and it was produced by Hammer.
Yeah.
Or in the 40s, I think. No, wait. When was it? I don't remember now.
You're talking the one about Klondike Kate, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't the greatest movie. And she was there. She was actually helped. Like she gave her input, I do believe, into that movie. So.
Right. Yeah, I read that she gave her input.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually picked the actress.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't a real well-known movie. I haven't watched it. There's a song out there too called Klondike Kate. You should Google it. It's kind of hard to find, but it's a very, very cute little ditty.
Oh.
I'd like to use it in my Facebook page, but you can't now because you can't use, you have to pay to be able to use music now, but it's a very cute little song about her. So my book,
these guys in the chat room are going, you know what? I should take a book to read with me when I go out prospecting and sit around doing that.
Yeah, should read.
Any good suggestions?
The Chain.
Oh, the Chain. Ah.
Yes. So that's the name of my book, is The Chain. And The Chain, the reason obviously I named it The Chain is because of the chain, the watch chain that I found.
Right.
And I didn't even talk about that this is actually a watch chain. I just called it the chain. I don't think I even ever mentioned in the book that it was a watch chain, which is
yeah,
kind of
when
important.
Why's that?
I don't know. I just I didn't even think about it. I might have mentioned it somewhere in the book, but because I wear it as a necklace all the time, it fits
Oh, do you?
perfectly. Yes, it fits me perfectly as a necklace, and I have it with me all the time. So
Awesome.
yeah,
What a cool thing to find. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
especially knowing the history and background of the articles that you have. You know,
hmm
that's I wouldn't want to let that go at all.
no, and I have many like, and so this was the actual newspaper clipping. That's how I first found out that they were married. So
Ah,
yeah, so I found a few of these. So that was her when she was older, right? So
right. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and in this
yeah, 'cause she
picture,
started her career out when she was just barely 18, right?
yeah, I think she got to when she met Alexander Pantages. So when she first started doing this flame dance, she was 24.
Nah.
And this is, you can't, I don't think you can see it, but that's John Matson there. And if you can see really closely, he's holding the watch chain in his pocket.
Really?
I don't know if you can
It's hard
see
to
it.
see from here.
Yeah. But
Oh.
I took a magnifying glass to it, and he's holding the watch chain.
It's there, huh? That's
Yeah,
cool.
so for me to find that is just like when I read that Klondike Kate was looking for the watch chain because she knew that he would never leave it behind, I just gasped because here I had this watch chain that she had been looking for 7 years.
oh,
Right. Wow, that's got to be cool.
Yeah,
And you think there's still 51 more cans out there, huh?
I think so. We ripped apart part of that rock outcropping, but I used to have dreams about it. This is going to sound strange to you guys, but when I was there, I had dreams about a rock outcropping like that, but there was a rabbit there, and the rabbit kept pointing to this one place that was like a refrigerator. So it's somewhere cold, somewhere that it would have been kept cold, I believe is where it is. So I don't want to give away too much information.
Have you dug under the campfires?
Pardon me?
Have you dug under the campfires?
Campfires?
Yeah, underneath the campfire.
No.
They used to bury their gold and stuff there underneath the campfire.
Yeah, but how would I know where the campfire was?
Well, you'd have to look for the signs.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty big area, right? So
Right. Well, figure out where they would camp it. That's just find those campsites, and I mean that's what they've done in the past. People finding gold, camping there. They don't want to hide it, and they don't want to keep it out, so they want to hide it. Where are you going to hide it? Everybody's going to look everywhere except underneath the campfire. So they started burying it there for a while.
yeah, I guess. But that's why I found the rock outcropping, because it was the same thing. As soon as I seen that rock outcropping, I thought that's where I would put something if I wanted to hide it, because you would always be able to find that nobody else. Right? Yeah, and I don't think. Right. And we also found like some trapping things that he had going on. He also trapped furs, so there was like a drying rack up there and some other things, and we ended up taking an excavator up there and kind of ripping the whole place apart, but it was we didn't find anything.
Yeah, rock butcher says a ring of stones might give it away.
A ring of stones. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for a fire, for a campfire.
Oh yeah, that would work.
Hey, I found one like that out in the desert, Nevada, just walking around, and I saw a bunch of stones, in a circle. And as I looked at it closer and closer, I also found the seats, the rocks that they were sitting on, gathered around the circle, and the fire ring. So there's
there's a lot of rocks out there, because they would pile their rocks, when they were sluicing, smaller scale sluicing. So there'd be lots of rocks that you would find rock pilings here, there, and everywhere. So it's a big area, and because the creeks in the Klondike are like snakes, right? So you would find things over here and things over here. So you just kind of stumble across things, which was really interesting. And there's a lot of interest. I don't know. Do you guys know anything about the Yukon? Have you ever been?
Never been.
No.
No.
Would like to one day.
Yeah.
The most I know about the Yukon is they had a gold rush up there. Lots of people died trying to cross over the mountains.
Yeah.
And,
They say there was
and
100,000 people migrated there or
Right.
tried to, and only 30 to 35,000 actually arrived in Dawson City. And when they arrived there was already so much scurvy and things like that, because there was no, like, you could sell an apple for, I was hearing stories, they were selling apples for like $100, which was a fortune back then. But so there were so many people already dying of scurvy when others were arriving, and they wouldn't even let them off the boats. They just turned them around and send them back again. It was supposed to have been hideous like conditions on the boats too, like, because they brought animals with them, and the animals were up above and you're sleeping below, and the shit and everything else is coming down onto the people sleeping down there, and no food, and yeah, it was pretty bad.
And yeah, and she would do things like what she wasn't supposed to do. She went through one pass where they were supposed to be allowing women through.
Yeah, women weren't. It's called Miles Canyon.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah, women were not allowed, and so she bought some or got some clothes from some smaller man, and she wore his clothes. She bound her chest. She wore a cap, and because she had long reddish colored hair, so she put all her hair up under the cap, and the boat had already taken off, the boat that she was supposed to get on. So she just jumped and tried to jump on, but she couldn't swim. And she ended up in the water and just grabbed onto a rope that they still had dangling. And the guys drug her up, and the Mountie seen her and realized that she was a woman. And they were yelling at her to come back. But of course she was like, yeah, see you later.
Yeah, okay, I'll listen.
Yeah. So yeah, she was quite the daredevil, and she wasn't scared.
Yeah,
She loved being on ships and boats and stuff like that. Whereas me, I'm the total opposite of that.
But let's see. So do you still have claims in mind at all?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't.
So oh right.
I'm
Okay.
actually,
You said you were planning on getting back to it, but starting from the bottom up.
starting from, like I said, right now I'm just going out like with Gold Pan. I'm just
Right.
going back to the total basics, and I have no idea in my life. I just focus on what I want my life to be like, and it's turned out like that every time. So I wanted my divorce to happen. It happened in a really bad way, but it wasn't a good marriage, and I focused on, I wanted it to end, and it ended. It ended in a bad way. I focused on how I wanted my life to be since then, and it's turned out exactly how I wanted it to be. And now I'm focusing on somehow getting back to the Yukon and mining again in some way, shape, or form. So I'm actually headed back up there in a couple months with a friend of mine, and I am actually flying back into the first mining site that we ever mined on. And there's somebody else there who's mining there now. He's actually from Australia. And I'm going out there to see their operation now, and just, see how things go. See, whatever. I don't know how it's going to happen.
One day at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I have any claims or anything that I can lay claim to, so I would be starting out. My husband now is not, he loves all that stuff, but he's not able to do anything like that. So we wouldn't be going up there together or anything like that. I did go back to work up there for a while for somebody else who's still mining. It was very different being an employee over somebody who owns. So I didn't last too long at that. It's a little bit different.
Right.
But yeah, I've always loved gold mining, and I'll probably always will.
So are you planning on doing any more books? Is this something that is this the direction your life is heading towards, as being a writer?
I guess it is, because I've started the second book. So yeah, so my second book starts where my first book left off. For me to save myself after my really, really bad divorce, it was nasty. Like it went on for 8 years before we were finally divorced.
Wow.
Like I said, I lost everything. I did manage to gather enough money, and I bought myself a Harley Davidson motorcycle. I'd never ridden a motorcycle in my life. I actually never even liked people that rode motorcycles. I happened to meet a guy, and he was going through a divorce, and he bought this motorcycle for his wife. It was a 1997 Sportster, blue Sportster, and she'd never ridden it. It only had 17 kilometers on it, like from the dealer to his house. And I bought back there and drove it home, and then I went and got my license. I didn't even know how to start it, so I took a course and got my license, and then I proceeded to ride that motorcycle for 22,000 kilometers across Canada and parts of Washington State, all by myself.
I was just going to ask you, by yourself?
All by myself in some dangerous places. There's this one area here where I live, well, a couple hours from where I live. It's called the Highway of Tears. It's where many Indigenous women and white women have gone missing and murdered, and they've never found them. Well, they presumed murdered. And
that's something that's going on. That's something that's going on right now too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a continued thing here.
Yeah.
So I went on that road, not even thinking about it. Didn't tell anybody where I was going. Ran out of gas. Had no cell phone, and I was in the worst monsoon that you could ever think. I literally had to keep. I was riding and trying to get the water out of my goggles while I was riding. I'm just that kind of person. I just do things. And so this book starts from there, and my adventures with my motorcycle, which became my therapist and saved me, literally saved me. I tried going to therapy and it didn't work for me. The motorcycle just saved I just cranked my music. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I just cranked and I rode, and I was crazy, and I would pass people, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And then I upgraded to a Fat Boy Low, 2013 Fat Boy Low, which I still have. And yeah, and that's how I met my husband, who I'm with now, because through instead of an ad, we met through online dating, and the only reason he talked to me is because I had a motorcycle. So.
What do you say? Send me a picture of your bike.
Yeah, no, yeah, that was a whole nother story in itself, but that'll be in my second book. So yeah, my life has always been kind of like I've had a lot of adventures, and maybe. Who knows? And now we have a farm, which is a totally new experience to us. And we knew nothing about animals. And I started rescuing. I rescued my first animal. Now we have many rescued animals, and
Cute
that's
little
a whole
goat
thing in itself.
You got though, Brandee.
Yeah, we have a couple of mini goats, mini horses, mini donkeys, chickens. I'm looking for a miniature Highland cow, if anybody knows one that needs a home. So yeah, and so I'm thinking that I also would like to write children's books about farm animals. So I actually have one started called Chicken 911.
Chicken 911.
Where the chickens are the 911 operators.
Go for it.
Well, yeah, because there's so many farms around where I am, and so there's always something. If you like, okay, gold mining is a lot like farming, right? The same kind of people. So I went from gold mining to farming, and it's kind of the same thing. There's always shit happening. There's always like, this animal's sick, or that one got bit by a rattlesnake, or so there's the chickens are always taking the 911 call. So we'll see how that goes.
So you mentioned earlier a lot of things, but that you wanted to give a book away tonight.
Yes. One or two.
One or two, she said.
I want one.
You got one coming.
I do?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that Rudy?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you got one coming. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, I put it out there, so make sure to type chain if you're interested in Brandee's book, and you'll be eligible into the drawing whenever she tells me to. I could pick somebody.
Yeah, we'll pick a couple people.
All right.
Okay.
So you
Well, I'll do one right now.
Okay.
Not ball and chain, Bill. Just
Ball
chain.
and chain. She's the ball and chain.
Jesus.
That was before the book, right?
Yeah, that was before the
Yeah.
book.
Digging with Deej.
Jeez.
She
All right,
loves
Deej.
history too.
Oh, good. Yeah, and my book is basically a memoir with a reimagined biography about Klondike Kate, because like you mentioned before, there's not a lot on her. So what I could gather,
Yeah.
So what I could
was
gather
hard
was
to
what I
find.
could gather, and the rest was kind of my imagination and how I would think she would do things or whatever, just from my experiences in the Klondike. And yeah, so
You know, yeah. Like I said, there's a you type in Klondike Kate on in YouTube, and you'll see a couple documentaries
mhm.
about her, story about the other Klondike Kate, the wrestling Klondike Kate.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that one up, and you should look up the
the
song.
winner of 2023 Klondike Kate Wisconsin contest.
It's funny because the small town that I was started out in, Lillooet, we had to wear can-can dresses. I was a waitress back then. Yeah, because it was a gold rush kind of town, right? So we had to wear.
Right.
So I kind of started out in a gold rush town a little bit, but to end up in the Yukon was not in my dreams, I guess, in the beginning, but
Right.
it is now.
Yeah.
And
So,
if you go
other
to the
than-
Klondike, if you go to Dawson City ever, you have to go and do the sourdough drink. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of that. I don't know
What is that?
So it's a
You-
pickled toe. It's a sourdough that they have donated. So they have more than one. They have backups. So it's a toe that has been preserved. Somebody lost their toe and they put it in a drink. I think it's a drink of your choice, or maybe not. I'm not sure. I haven't done it, but I'm doing it this summer. And you take this little cup and you have to drink it. I think it's whiskey or something maybe. And the toe has to touch your lips to be able, then you get a certificate that you did a sourdough.
Do we know who the toe belongs to?
No,
No.
they're all donated.
So how do you donate a toe?
Well, they do somehow. I guess they have to amputate your
Here,
toe or
hold
whatever.
my whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, you got to be in some kind of state of mind to be going, yeah, I think I'm going to donate
Yeah.
my big toe this week so somebody can take a drink with it in it.
Yeah, and the worst part is that the toe has been swallowed many times. That's why they have to have backups.
Now for sure I'm not doing it. No.
No.
Yeah, because
no.
most people are a little tipsy when they're doing it because they have to be tipsy.
I
to
would
do it.
I'd have to be a lot.
I haven't been that
I'd
tipsy in
be-
about
I'd have to
30
be so
years.
tipsy, I'd be on the ground.
Yeah. Could you imagine? No.
No.
I mean, I've eaten the worm out of
Tequila.
Pascal.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's this? That's just a little worm.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
thinking
the
of
best
a
part.
toe. A toe,
Oh yeah, and they're a little bit. They're pretty shriveled up and they're black. They're very black.
but that's still a toe.
So I'm going up there in August because when I was in the Yukon, I never had a chance to do any of these things. I was too busy working all the time. So
Right.
we just worked. I never really went into town much. So I'm going back there this summer. I'm going to do the sourdough. So I'll send you a photo.
You don't know.
Do
how
a
much
video.
Poop that
Yeah, video.
toe stepped
Do a
in.
video. Well, think about the hot, sticky, sweaty
The
food it's been in.
and the poop
Oh,
it
yeah.
stepped in.
Yeah.
She's not gonna do it. Do a video. You got to do a video.
Oh,
'Cause
I
if you don't
will.
do a video, it never happened.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a few videos because if I'm flying back into our original camp, like we built a big log house there where we actually cut down the trees and peeled them and and built the house ourselves. So it's still standing. And I want
Cool.
to, there's people mining there now and pull on the bark.
Right.
Yeah, and we peeled every log that we built. And it was a big house. It's like 2,000 square feet.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's a big house.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the bush, still standing. But normally in Canada, if you go on state claims or you lease claims or whatever, whatever structures you build have to be taken down when you leave, unless somebody else is going to be mining there. So that's the reason that house still stood.
Because
It's kind of a
somebody's
shame. Yeah, because they don't want
somebody's constant-
squatters.
Yeah, somebody's
say?
constantly mining. Someone's always mining there.
Well, since we left that site, yeah, that was our first site, as far as I know, because the house is still there. So they don't want squatters in Canada. They don't want houses
Right.
in the middle of nowhere where people can just squat and live. They got to know where you
No,
are.
just send them all to the States. We
They
have
got to be
laws
able
in-
to tax you.
So are you is your book gonna be how you make a living now, or your books?
No.
Or you plan on doing something else again? I can't imagine you'd want to stop doing anything.
The animals, like, basically I'm retired. But the animals,
I was gonna ask you that, but I didn't want to ask you that. Old lady, she's probably retired by now. I didn't want to ask, but okay, you're retired. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm retired. I retired pretty much at 55. So
Nice.
Wish I could have did that.
but I'm like you guys. I love social media stuff, and I'm doing a lot with. Well, I haven't been doing a lot with my Gold Nugget Woman Facebook page, which is, if you go to Facebook, it's Gold Nugget Woman at Facebook. So I was doing a lot of stories, and that kind of really kept my fire going for my book. I haven't been doing too much lately, but I'm really wanting to pick that up again. And I'm picking it up when I head back to the Yukon this summer. So I'll be doing, videos and things I'm going to a couple mines of people that I know. So I'm going out there and just do some videos and posting stuff and stories and picking that up again. I really like social media stuff and, getting into that. I don't know, not to make a living, but just my animals right now take up a lot of my time. And I think that we'll be getting more and more rescue animals, which will take up a lot of our time. And we're getting into farming. So we started with garlic. We're doing corn, growing lavender. We grow our own hay. So, I mean, there's a lot of work around here. There's no way that he's retired too. So the two of us, we just work on this farm all the time. I couldn't imagine having to go to work and running a farm at the same time. There's no way.
Yeah, that's
a lot of
already work. That's
Yeah.
already work.
Yeah, and we
Just
live on
trying
a
to
beautiful
survive.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to pay the bills for all the feed and all that kind of stuff. And we might
Right.
start like farming tours, stuff like that. There's a lot of interest in that. A lot of people like to see how farms run, just like gold mining. People want to see about how you do this stuff.
Homesteading and mini farm channels do really well.
Yeah, I know. I've had a few of my reels and stuff go sort of semi-viral just on some of the little posts that I do with my animals. So people love looking at animals and things like that. So.
It always amazes me that you can put a camera in a chicken coop and run it 24/7, and there will be people watching, giving you money to watch more. It just blows
Yeah.
me away.
There's a
And
lot of
all they're
stuff.
doing is watching chickens.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on in the coop. What goes on in the coop stays in the coop, let me tell you. There's like the whole
Yeah.
hierarchy thing. There's the, when you bring in new birds into a coop, you have to separate them because that's hen pecking. That's where they came up with the saying, because hens will peck the other ones to death. if they
There
don't
is
like
a
it.
pecking order.
There's a definite pecking order, and it's very interesting. And I think I love the chickens most out of all the animals we have because they're so interesting. You can just watch them all day.
I've heard that from a lot of people. Not a lot,
Yeah.
but I've heard that from people that have chickens. First of all, chickens have personalities.
They
Who
totally
would have
do.
thought?
Yeah.
And
they can
there
recognize up to 10 people, up to 10 different people. They can recognize you by the way you walk and stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just call them, like, we just go chicken girls. We call them chicken girls, and they all come running. They'll come running from way across the field.
They're like, food.
They're the coolest things, and they run like little Tyrannosaurus Rexes, like their legs are just going in. And They're very cute. And then my next favorite
Well,
is
they are little Tyrannosaurus Rexes.
They are,
Little,
yeah.
little
Little ones.
velociraptors.
Yeah.
exactly. But don't get a rooster because they're brutal.
Robert wants to know if you name your chickens.
I have named a couple of them. So one of my roosters was Graybeard. Another rooster, his name was John Wayne.
Wayne.
Right now, right now I have 3 new black ones that lay blue eggs, and I've called them Sage, Ginger, and Saffron. So normally I don't name them, but
Do you eat them?
no, we can't eat them. We have bleeding hearts. We can't eat them.
No, the blue eggs.
Oh, the eggs. Yes. I thought you meant the chicken.
You eat those? No, not the chickens.
Yes, we eat the blue eggs, and we have what's also called, they call them Easter eggers. So these chickens lay eggs of multiple different colors. They're pink, green, yellow. And then when we sell our
Really?
eggs, we put them in a carton with all mixed colors. So they sell more than other eggs, like they sell.
Do
I bet.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Is that something that particular type of chicken does, or is it maybe the
Yeah,
feed?
they're bred to do that. So there's certain breeds that are like, I don't know a lot about chickens. I'm learning about them, but the ones we have are a leghorn. They're called a leghorn, and they're bred with something else to do these eggs. And people specialize in breeding chickens to get these different eggs. It's a whole thing. Like, yeah.
All right, guys, we're not talking Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well,
They're getting
they're-
bored. They're getting bored talking about chickens.
no, they're talking about names like "Come here, dinner." Hey,
Oh.
dinner, get over here. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Chicken.
I
Or
name
winner,
all
winner,
my
chicken dinner.
chickens food.
Yeah, we had a
No,
chicken.
they're
Before I
they're
came on with you
listening.
guys, before I came on with you guys tonight, that's why I was a little bit late. It's because my chickens got out over the fence today, and we're climbing up the mountain here trying to get our chickens back. And I was hot and sweaty after I've been running around after these chickens. But we just got these ones, so they're very different from our other chickens. Our other chickens were very docile and calm, and these guys are just like crazy chickens.
Yeah, these guys are in here naming them. You got Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah.
All,
I've heard
all
that
from the
one.
dinner family.
I've heard that one before.
Or chickens. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing that, you're talking about the internet and social media, and that it's amazing how big of a community you can grow
Yeah.
on chickens, on gold,
On
on
anything.
willow
anything.
trees.
Yeah.
Anything.
You just have to be consistent. That's it.
Right. I mean, there's people making money doing coin pusher machines
Yeah.
on YouTube. It's amazing of the
Yeah.
money that can be made on YouTube.
How
But
did you guys get started?
I haven't. I'm not a YouTuber.
No, but how did you get started with this podcast? How did you get going?
Oh, that's Ed. This show is Ed's show. I'm his co-host. He's been doing YouTube for how long, Ed?
Oh,
Forever.
forever. 08, I think I started.
Wow.
And actually, the 22nd of this month is the 6th year birthday for Tuesday Night Hangout Live.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Very cool.
But for Ed, his claim to fame is his In the Shed with Ed videos.
Right.
His DIY. That's how people know him.
Oh,
That's
right.
what I did mostly when I first started, because
Right.
I just moved here from out west. I'm originally from the concrete forest jungle of Southern California, Anaheim.
Oh, wow.
I moved to Skagit Valley, Washington to to Anacortes on Fildago Island.
That's not too far from Vancouver.
No, I used to take the ferry up to Vancouver Island
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
play a lot in Victoria. Fun city. Fun city. But then up there I got into prospecting. Growing up I was into surfing and girls and surfing. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have been ditching to dredge for gold and stuff, and
Yeah.
not chase girls and surf.
Yeah. Well, that's what life's about, right? To learn.
But
Learn what
I
you should have
left
done.
because of pretty much my lifestyle, and I wanted to live longer than 30.
Yeah.
So I moved to a rural area and raised my kids even farther up the Skagit River in a
Mhm.
little hamlet called Pumpkin Center, about 12 miles upriver from Cedar-Woolley, Washington. That's where I got into prospecting and mining stuff when I was raising my family. So yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
lots of interesting things to do within the realm of gold mining. Like you can, like you said, just prospecting, just gold panning. What are those things called?
Sluices?
sluices?
No. No, the things that you can look for. The electric
Well, metal
things.
detecting.
Yeah, metal detecting. Yeah, that would be interesting too.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't done that yet, huh?
No, I haven't, because in the Yukon, I mean, people talked about it. And we thought about, you'd have to get a really good one of those things. But there's too many heavy metals or whatever around when you're gold mining. It would just set it off.
Right.
Yeah. I forget what that stuff's called now. But anyways, there's just so much of it that it would set it off all the time. So it wouldn't be feasible to use one. But I've been following this girl called Digger Dawn. Have you heard of her?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And she's
kind of
from
interesting.
Great Britain.
Yeah, she's kind of interesting.
We got a lot of metal detectors in this chat room.
Oh, do you?
Oh yeah. Deeds, digging with Deeds.
She's a detectorist that we got into prospecting. She was with us her first time prospecting.
Oh, really?
I got her working river sluice, and her friend was running my dredge. And Liz, the Digging Connect, was in here earlier. She might still be lurking in the background.
Of course, our favorite Ohio relic hunter.
Yeah, he's a detectorist, but he prospects a little too, but he's more of a detectorist.
So with the detectors, do they find gold or more other things?
They're relic and coin hunters.
Oh yeah.
But we do have friends that are very good nugget shooters.
Very interesting. I'd like to learn more about it.
Well, let's see. There'd be Two Toes. There'd be
Bedrock Bennett.
Bedrock
Foley,
Bennett.
Top Cat.
And then Bill Sutherland in Arizona.
Yeah, and Tammy.
And Tammy, right?
Yeah.
Those are Bill's got he has a lot of instructional videos on using metal detectors.
Oh yeah.
Especially looking for gold.
Yeah, because I think you got to get
He
the
does. He looks for
specific
gold in
kind.
Arizona.
Yeah, I'd be looking for gold. I'm going to.
Oh, and don't forget, and we mustn't forget WI Gold's.
Yeah.
Detecting
Y Gold. Yeah.
WI Gold.
He says, here's his comment that he's making to you, I believe. Good metal detectors that'll handle a lot of high mineralization will run you a few $1,000s.
Mine lab.
And yes.
A mine lab. Yeah, I've heard of mine lab. Yeah.
Yes, nugget shooter at Tammy, and her other half, Bill, Southern, good detector as nugget hunters out of Arizona.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay, I
I
forgot
have
to-
Oh, yeah, you're
I
right,
forgot
to show you
Captain.
guys
these.
Brad, Willie Shiny Gold in Arizona uses a detector also.
Huh, wow. There must not be too many of those heavy metals that they hang out there. I forget what they're called. I forget the name of it. Anyways, I forgot to show you guys these. I had a couple of these sitting here.
Ooh, nice. You find that
Yeah.
in your mine, huh?
Yeah, so these are a couple of, I believe they are from a baby mammoth, but yeah, so you can see the ivory there.
Yeah,
Just looks like a stick, hey? So these are, I
it's a
found,
stick.
well, if you didn't know what you were looking for, yeah, it looks like a stick, except for it's heavier, but I have the two matching pairs.
That's
That's
sweet.
cool.
Yeah. These are worth it. I know in the Yukon they find like they'll find full tusks there. We never found any full tusks when we were there, more because we were ripping. We had to rip the ground a
Right.
lot. So when you rip with big ripper teeth, you tend to break them up. But some of them will go for like thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, good money in those.
Yeah, they're very heavy. I'm just going to keep them raw like this. I'm not going to polish them. I'm going to mount them on some metal brackets or something like that.
That'd be
Yeah,
But you would find a lot of other things out there, a lot of bones, like a lot of,
right.
we found some really weird bird bones and we thought that maybe it might be pterodactyl. They came and they took them away and we never heard anything back. So I don't know what they were.
Yeah,
They just found a baby woolly mammoth not too long ago.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw
Yeah.
that. Everybody in the chat room was saying, get good entry level for gold would be a Mine Lab 1000, Monster 1000,
Okay.
which is what I
that
use.
will run you about $1,000. But
Yep.
I found gold with my Equinox 800. It has a prospecting mode. It's completely waterproof up to 10 feet. And I've
So-
found 3 really good nuggets in California with it.
So you can use that in the creek beds, like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally, you could.
Not the Monster though.
Not the monster. The Equinox 800.
I did find those with my Monster the first time I went out and used it.
Oh, nice! Wow, beauties.
Yeah, I like my first nuggets.
You guys
Those are my
out there
first
don't need to
nuggets.
see those. You've all seen Jesse's nuggets.
You've all seen them
enough
100 times.
Yeah, I went panning a couple weeks ago, and my first pan, I got a little nugget. So
Cool.
Nice. How far are you from like Barkerville in the Caribou?
I'm about 4 hours, 3.5 hours, something like that.
That ain't too bad.
No, I was just actually up that way not too long ago.
Yeah, Greg, me minor, he was saying in the chat room that he has a claim in the Caribou now.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of gold around there. And even the area I'm in right now, Kamloops, there's a fair amount of gold at this place called Tranquille. There's a lot of people come from everywhere to go panning there.
I tell you what, Brandee, if you were serious about going up there and find the rest of those cans,
Do it.
Carrie Curry is right on. If you had a detector, you could find the rest of those cans.
Good idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Cover.
And there's nobody mining there right now, so I could potentially just go right in there.
There you go. Yeah, metal detector. A good metal detector.
Yeah.
You get when I first was looking at metal detectors, someone told me figure on spending about $100 per foot that you want to go in down able to
deep,
penetrate.
Yeah.
You know. So, but you know, I don't know how true that is. I'm not really a metal detectorist per se. I use it to find gold and heavy metals to look for gold. But that would be, if that's what you really want to do, get up there and look for those cans. Metal detector is going to do it. You need to spend about $1,000 or more. You know, you can spend all kinds of money on one, but I don't
remember
know.
when we were mining, we were looking into getting one, and I remember is it Minecraft? No,
Mine
Mine
Labs.
Lab. Mine Lab used to kept coming up that was one of the best ones. So.
If you're looking for gold, Mine Labs is the way to go. And then the monster, like what I got is good entry level.
Mhm.
But if you're gonna be really serious about it, you'd want to go with a what, 2,500, 3,500.
Oh yeah.
You know, a more powerful machine.
Mhm.
You watch. That's what's Two Toes use, Ed?
He uses the, what's that, the CDS or SDC.
Yeah.
It folds up. Same with Top Cat. What? Yes, SDC 2300. Thanks, Kyle.
Right. Yep.
Thanks, David.
And Terry.
Terry.
Yeah, but if I mean, those guys have used theirs and have paid for it.
Mhm.
You know,
Oh yeah.
within one season.
Boy,
Especially
that
now,
one
gold's at a pretty
Nugget
good price.
Bedrock Bennett found probably paid for his detector.
Yeah, just that one nugget, huh?
Yeah. It was as
I found a
big
big
as a
nugget?
cigarette pack.
Oh really? Wow. Where was this? What area?
California.
Mother load.
Oh, wow. Hmm. That would be cool. That would be so cool.
Hell yeah, bounty hunter will find you those tin cans, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. Well, let's go ahead and give a book away, or a book or two.
Well, we've gave one away to Deej. I'll get you
There's a
her
book.
address. There's the book right there.
Yeah.
Type in Shane if you would like to get in on it.
Signed copy.
So
Signed copy.
you plan on doing any more books on any of the other women that were in the Klondike during that time?
I mean, I can't say that I am right now, but you never know what
Uh-huh.
could happen, right? I never thought I would write a book. It just what happened is I'd always wanted to, but I had no idea how to even begin. And I took have you ever heard of Toastmasters?
Hmm?
Yeah, so I was gonna take a Toastmasters course and ended up going another way and took this course on public speaking. And I had to craft this short story that I ended up having to read for the first time in front of about 100 people. And it was terrifying. It was about this book. It was about before I wrote it, but it was along the lines of my life. And then I had to do it again in front of about 1,000 people. And they saved me for the last one. And all I remember is that I got a huge standing ovation from everybody. And I realized, okay, people really do want to hear about this. People are interested, but I think a lot of people, it was women. It was all women. So I think that it was also because I survived what I'd gone through. And I ended up, they really cheered when they found out I bought a Harley Davidson. And went riding. People really like motorcycles too. So especially women, it's a big thing now that women are really getting into riding motorcycles. And
so you
more power to them.
Yeah. Do you look at this book like a self-help book for people, or is it just something you?
No, it's not a self-help book. It's just it's a story. If you're interested in adventure and thinking to yourself, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Like I could see myself doing that, or that's really cool that she did that. Because I get that a lot from people. That's really cool that you did that, and you weren't scared. But I was scared. I was scared the whole time. I was scared of flying. I was scared of machinery. But I just did it. Like, yeah. Well, I do now, and I love helicopters. I wish I had my helicopter pilot's license, but
helicopter.
I'm a helicopter mechanic.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love helicopters.
I was a Cobra crew chief in Vietnam.
Oh wow, interesting. That's a story right there.
Oh, you think you got stories?
Yeah, I know. And that's what I tell people. Like when people say, writing a book, did you always think you wanted to be an author? No, I had no idea. This story came to me, and it happened. It was my life. And everybody has a story. Every single person has a freaking story.
Everybody does.
all you got to do, and this is how I wrote my book, is I wrote down the 10 most important things that ever happened to me in my life. And then I took the top one, and the top one turned out to be the gold mining story. And then from there, I took all the 10 things that were the most important things that happened to me while I was gold mining, and those became my chapters. And so it's actually quite easy to do. Writing the book was the easiest thing. Marketing it is a total another game.
Right, that's what I said. That's what I said earlier. Writing a book's the easy part. Selling it.
Yeah, and I'm not a great salesperson, so I sold a lot of books I sold as many as I knew I would sell to, because I have a fairly large Facebook page, and I have multiple pages, so I did well there. And Amazon, that goes by all your ratings. People don't buy unless you have ratings. So people that I give books to, that's all I ask them for them to do, is to please go on Amazon and look up Brandee Radford the Chain and give me an honest review. So
well,
that's all I ask.
I'll have to give you a review, and I put it in the book section in my Amazon store,
shopping cart,
my flash in your pan store.
Oh yeah.
And so, not that I get a lot of traffic, but Terry Curry is wondering, how long did it take to write the book?
From start to finish, like when I actually went into my room, make myself go in there every day for at least a couple hours, it only actually took me about 6 to 7 months of actual writing. And then doing all the rest of it, coming up with the artwork, the editing, all that kind of stuff. So in total, it took me a year when I really got serious about it. Because I talked about it and I dabbled in it and I do that and I go, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. It's very difficult to write a book when you don't have a clue what you're doing. And I only have my grade 8 education. So I'm not somebody that should have been a book writer. I just had the stories. So anybody can write a book. And I think that people like to read books from people that just are having real life things that they can relate to.
Right.
So
there's a lot of involved in writing a book, writing anything really. You gotta first your subject, and you want to be as descriptive as possible without being wordy.
Exactly.
That's
Without
my
being
problem.
boring.
I get too wordy.
And I self-published too, so that's another thing. Like I didn't have somebody publishing for me. I self-published, so I had to learn a lot. It's just, and I learned that I probably shouldn't have bought so many books, but you get a cheaper price if you buy by the bulk. So, but that was something I learned. I wouldn't buy as many books because you can keep having them printed. And if you're on Amazon, they just print on demand. So they don't have to have any printed books, right? So if somebody orders a book, they print it and they send it to you. The quality is a little bit different. Like if you get one from me, the cover is a little bit different. It's shinier. It's more expensive than the one you're going to get from Amazon. It's not as good a quality. It's still good quality.
Well, you're not buying the book for the cover. You're buying it for the words.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the cover gets people attention.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
Have you thought about offering it as like an ebook on your website also?
It is in ebook form also.
Cool.
Through Amazon, you can get it as ebook. Yeah.
Oh,
And audiobook is another big thing. Like I don't read. I like audiobooks. But that's a whole nother thing because you have to find somebody to.
I'm right there with you, sister.
I
listen to my books.
Yeah, I love listening. Otherwise, I fall asleep. It's not that I can't read. It's just
I same here. I like reading, but I fall asleep too.
Yeah. You read the same line over and over, and it's like,
you know how many times I've read that line? Didn't I just read this line?
I know.
Just
what paragraph was
that? Just a minute ago, I could have swore I read that.
Yeah. Takes you 10 years to read a book, right?
Yeah. I guess it depends on what you're doing. Like right now, it'd be really hard for me to stop long enough to read a couple pages or anything. Not that I do anything, but still, it still takes time to sit and read.
Yeah.
So
yeah, audiobooks are great. You can be working still. You can be doing whatever and listening through your headphones, and it's great. But it's a little. I don't know anything about that yet. I'd have to I could read it myself as my own audiobook, but I don't think I have the greatest. I have a bit of a lisp sometimes, so I don't think it's the greatest, but.
And that's not easy to do. I
Mhm.
mean, to read out loud,
Yeah,
is rather difficult, actually. You can read to yourself because you can skip words and not
yeah,
necessarily pronounce them the way, well, you pronounce them right in your head anyway,
yeah.
you know. But when you actually have to put it to audio, where you gotta read exactly what is written there, the way it's written there, it's
Yeah.
really hard. I was trying to do that with a book that I'm reading, because I wanted to talk about it, right? And I was gonna read it, like read a chapter at a time or a paragraph at a time and then talk about it. But it was
That
taking me
didn't
so
last
long.
long.
It was just taking me so long to read a paragraph without stumbling over
Yeah.
everything, you
Yeah.
know. So
And for
that's
some reason, it doesn't sink in as much either. I find it listening to it, it sinks in better. I can remember it better. So
yeah. Well, everybody's different.
Well, give me a countdown, Brandee, and we'll give away that second one you were talking about.
Countdown from what, 10?
Whatever you want.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right. Heath Doty. Sorry, Heath.
Woody.
He's out of New York.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you didn't get no
Congratulations,
Aussies tonight.
Heath.
Pardon me?
You didn't get any Australians tonight.
No,
Nope.
no. One from Michigan, digging with Deej, and one from New York, Heath Doty.
Awesome.
Sorry,
So
Heath. I
you
know
send
I
me their
always do.
information? Is that how it goes?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I believe I have both their addresses already anyway.
Yeah, I can ship them off tomorrow.
Congratulations, Heath. Congratulations, Deej. We're heading into overtime. Brandee,
Well,
2 hours
that's
with
good.
you just flew by.
I knew you
Yeah.
could do it. I knew you could. We didn't even get to the hypothetical question or nothing tonight.
Oh, but
We'll say that for the next time. How's that?
Yeah.
when you
Yeah, for
come
my
out
next
with
book.
the sequel of
For your next book.
My next
Or
book,
any-
or when I get
any
back up
event.
to the Yukon.
there you
Yeah,
go.
or any event you might want to share, you know. We'd be glad to have you back on.
Well, after the sabbatical from the show, our right now our open line Tuesdays, where we try to open up the line to everybody, is the last Tuesday of the month. But this year, before my mom died, we never missed a show until just last year.
Aw.
But I need kind of a break to work on other projects and to redo my shop and studio and some other stuff,
Regroup.
and actually get out in the river and streams and detect and stuff too, and a little in the shed with Ed stuff, because there are a lot of people out there who like it for some reason. But
Well, you got the personality.
and so June is our last month, remember, and this coming up, Open Line Tuesdays, we are gonna have some giveaways for subscribers. You have to be publicly subscribed. And I think you'll like it, but when we come back after September, we'll be taking 3 months off, and then our open line Tuesdays will be the first Tuesday of the month. So remember that. remember that, or I could
You've been re-
remind you of that. What?
you've been reading the chat? Ed,
Yes and no.
Ed, make sure you clean that shed.
Yeah, Terry Curry. I'm working
Yeah.
on it. I'm working on it. It's a mess. You thought Oscar Madison was bad? Meet Ed Marvin.
Oh, just get another shed, Ed, and throw all that
Yeah.
junk in it.
Right,
Lock the door.
right. Yeah, okay, guys.
Well,
Okay.
Brandee and the chat room loved the show. They
Oh, good.
loved what you were talking about. You did
Good.
excellent. You did great.
Absolutely fabulous, darling.
Yeah, and everybody,
Fabulous.
everybody's was happy you were here.
Good.
We're
That's
not
good.
kidding.
Because you never know what people even want to listen to. So
Well, I watch the chat room because to see if they're actually listening. I can
Mhm.
tell when they're listening to our guests
Mhm.
because they'll be doing like what they did tonight. We started talking about the chickens, they were right into it, you
Right.
know. And we got such a gutter crowd. So well, it's always gonna be fun and funny,
Oh
right?
yeah.
David
And,
Villa
and
says
I can tell when they're not listening because we'll be talking about this or that. The guest is talking about what he's talking about, and they're talking about Chevys and Fords and this pickup truck. You know, they're talking about other stuff. So I can tell when they're not following, and they were with you all night tonight.
Oh, good. That's
On
another
all
thing
the
I could talk
subjects.
about. I could talk about cars because I love freaking cars.
Okay, well, hey, these guys love talking about everything. We got a great chat room here. Like I said, you watched them.
Yep. I'm gonna watch more now too.
Excellent.
Well, from now on, don't be a lurker. Be a chatter.
Let us know
Yeah.
when
So
you're there.
I subscribed, but I didn't really. I don't really know if I actually got in. You know what I mean?
Go to the little bell by my subscribe button
Uh-huh.
and make sure it's white
Okay.
for all notifications, and you'll
Oh, okay,
know
okay,
when
yeah.
I post anything or go live.
Okay. Got it.
Well, and that's another sign that they're not paying attention to the guests is when they're all in there picking on me.
And when they're silent, you know they're really listening.
They're really listening when
Oh.
when this chat room is really enthralled in what you're talking about.
It
I mean,
hardly moves unless
there's
it's
No.
packed
no
full
chat.
of questions.
Right. You know, so but with you tonight, they were engaged, they were talking about the subjects you were talking about. They were commenting, not a lot of questions, but
Yeah.
they were paying attention. That's a good sign.
You all
Good.
get an A tonight, class.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, they were all
I'm glad I contacted you guys. It was very interesting, and I really enjoyed that.
Well, I'm glad you did too,
I'm loving this
Brandee.
story.
I
It's a
really
cool story.
enjoyed it.
Well, maybe one day I'm praying that I will come across somebody who thinks it would be a great miniseries, so or a movie.
Pitch it.
Either or.
Pitch it.
That's what I'm hoping
Pitch
for.
it.
Pitch it.
I know. That's what I told you. I'm not the greatest at marketing myself, but I really see it as a movie. So.
Oh, if I can do it, you can do it. And
Yeah.
look what you've accomplished already.
Mm-hmm.
As some would say, don't let those bastards hold you down.
No, nobody can.
There you
Right.
go.
And like
That's
I said,
the
chat room was engaged with the conversation. They were engaged with the stories you were talking about. They may have been off the wall with their response to the comments, but I expect no less.
Okay,
You know,
Jesse.
But that tells me they're listening to what you're talking about.
We're being hounded in the chat room by one of our frequent. Wait, flash in your pan. If there were no restrictions.
Okay, I gotta do it.
Time for hypotheticals. Give the people what they want, Jesse.
Okay, you have no limitations. Money's no object. Laws don't mean crap to you. You can do whatever, go wherever, hunt for whatever you want to hunt for. At any time you want to go. Where would you
Anywhere.
go? What would you hunt for? I added that, Ed.
Oh, okay.
Where would you go and what would you hunt for?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you asked me, where would I go? What would I hunt for?
Remember, money's no object. Laws
I
don't
would-
mean nothing to you. Time and space don't mean nothing to you.
Well, I only know one thing that I would hunt for. I don't know where I would go, but I'd hunt for a 1970 Hemi Cuda.
Best one. You could probably find a really nice one down in LA.
Actually, a guy I went to school with had a CUDA. So, Barracuda.
Too much money. But
Yeah, I wish I still had my El Camino Super Sport.
oh yeah, I love El Caminos too.
Oh, man.
Keeping you
all
go.
my Volkswagen buses. Jeez.
You hear that? You hear that?
Way sweet answer, Brandee.
Way sweet answer.
You would say that, MacGyver muscle machine, buddy. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Next week, we have our own Why Gold joining us on Tuesday night Hangout Live. We'll talk to him about detecting the beaches of SoCal and mining for gold in Arizona and much more, I'm sure. And then remember, 27th, be here. Vendetta Prospecting is sponsoring a couple of giveaways, and knowing Mike, you'll like. So, all of you out there, until next time, may you always have a flash in your pan.
And you know what he's going to say next.
That's right, because it does happen. Hi, Heath. Hi, Heavy Meadow. Hi, Robert Dupati. Ah, Bill, it does happen. Maybe one day too. We'll meet you on the river. But know what? Right now, we're out of here.
Night, everybody.
Good night, David, Terry, Jeff, Brad, Heath. Thank you all very much, Robert. See ya, brothers, sisters. 4, 3, 2,
Bye.
1.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. We'll
Buenos
be
nachos.
back. We'll be back.
Keep your heart soft and your pans heavy.
That's right. I like that. Keep your heart
I like
soft
that.
and your pan heavy.
Keep your heart soft and your pan heavy.
Jesse's gonna make a shirt now. Better copyright it quick.
Or a cup.